Before we begin, I would like to thank Nintendo UK for sending us a copy of this game to review. I have been a fan of the Super Smash Bros. Series since the first one on the Nintendo 64 2 decades ago, so when the latest title in the series for Nintendo Switch promised to be the ultimate title in the series, quite literally, I mean they put it in the name, you can be sure I was hyped, but did it live up to all the expectations I had? Every Super Smash Bros. Title is best broken up into 3 parts: content, gameplay, and presentation. The game could have every character I ever dreamed of, but if it was a terrible game to play, I can't imagine it would last very long. So, starting with the gameplay, I have to say I think Super Smash Bros. Ultimate might have the best feeling behind it since Melee on the GameCube. Sakurai wanted to speed up the game to be slightly faster than Smash for 3DS and Wii U, but not up to the insanely competitive Melee, and I think he succeeded. The game feels fast-paced, but it's also not so overwhelming that I don't lose every match I play online. The balancing here is also really good. While I have my favourites, there are actually a lot of fighters I feel comfortable using and winning with, including heavy fighters like King Dedede, who I only really played for a joke in the past. Now I can actually win with them. I can finally prove who the real king is. Now let's talk about those characters. This game has a roster of 76 fighters, counting the Pokemon Trainer as 3, and this includes every single fighter to ever appear in the series. All the way from mainstays like Mario and Samus to long-lost veterans Young Link and Pichu. And I love this. One admission here is that I never got any of my most wanted in this game. One day, Takamaru. One day. But I did wish for and predict that Sakurai would bring back every fighter, and he made it happen. I can finally main Young Link again, and he's good in this game as well. Of course, it's not just returning fighters. Sakurai added 6 newcomers and 5 Echo fighters to the roster, and all were fan favourites. Personally, from this list, I find that Inklings and King K. Rool are the most fun to use, while Daisy is a really good Echo. I'm actually very happy with all of these choices, even if I don't really enjoy playing as Chrom or Ridley very much, and can appreciate the Echoes as many of these characters would not have made it otherwise. I do sometimes wish there could have been a few more newcomers. Had this been a normal development cycle, I feel like many of my most wanted would have actually made the cut, but I understand this is a price to pay in order to have every character to return. And on top of this, we also got nearly every stage back, as well as many fan favourite items, Pokemon and assist trophies, along with new ones, although there was no fans, so you can tell they really didn't listen to the fans on that one. With 103 unique stages and variants on each, there is over 400 options for players to choose from, which is insane! I've been playing for a while and I don't think I've even tried every variant yet. The stages returning from Melee in particular look gorgeous. Many of the Wii U and Brawl stages don't look that much different, and the 3DS ones are nice upgrades, but something about the new detail on the Melee stages like Fourside and Fountain of Dreams is just something spectacular. And let's talk about that music. The very music I've been listening to every day since this game launched. While not as consistent as Melee, I think the song choices and the remixes in this title are some of the best the series has ever seen. Ace's Gangplank Galleon remix and Cass's theme are phenomenal tracks. Of course, I can't go without mentioning the main theme, Lifelight. It's not Smash's first vocal theme, technically Brawl's theme was a vocal, although that was in a language that only scholars understand. This one is in English and Japanese, and is really good. It really works with the game's opening and the intro to the World of Light, and makes the game feel like some kind of grand epic. Speaking of World of Light, that is this game's adventure mode, and while there is no platforming involved, there is a story and world map, so it technically counts. This time players pick a fighter, a team of spirits, and perform what are essentially mission matches with special conditions and theming. I have mixed thoughts about this, and I think it's best to talk about World of Light alongside the entire Spirits concept. Spirits are this game's equivalent of trophies or stickers, and I have mixed feelings about them specifically. On the one hand, sticking only to official artwork means that the variety and number of spirits is much higher here than trophies and stickers were. We can get spirits of games without 3D models, and even really obscure older ones like the Marvelous Trio and Goku from Yu Yuki. I love this about spirits, as I love the long-forgotten era of Nintendo, and I always wish for the Smash series to represent it more. Spirits are also practical in this game, functioning like stickers and equipment, as well as like a mini-army. They give your main fighter power-ups and stat boosts, and they can all be trained up in the gym and taught new skills. It's a really cool mechanic, and the number of primary spirits means there is a lot to work with here for those who want to try them all. My gripe with the spirits though comes from the lack of character in them. What I loved about trophies was the little descriptions and information on what game they came from. This game doesn't have that, not even a sentence, and only tells you the series name and nothing else. It is certainly disappointing, and while I can enjoy the art, the majority of it could already be seen online, so it feels a lot less special. There are also less categories this time around, so I can't split them up by series anymore, for example, which is quite lame. The spirit battles themselves are also a mixed bag. On the one hand, I love how they manage to encapsulate the characters they are representing. The amount of options in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate allows for this, and so when I'm fighting, say, Soren from Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, it actually feels like I'm fighting him, and not just a green Robin. I think it was a really clever move, and there are many fun and challenging fights here. However, for every one of these, there is also a really boring fight. Sometimes it's just a regular fight, but the fighter has a weapon they will get rid of almost immediately, and other times the floor is made of lava, but the right spirit negates this, so it just becomes a regular fight. And nearly every fight takes place on the battlefield or Omega variant of the stage. Not always, but a lot of them do. And doing this back to back in World of Light can get very tiring in long playthroughs, especially as this mode lacks any multiplayer options. Onto the multiplayer. Local Smash is fantastic. The new UI and layout makes organising things seamless, and you can finally change the default button layout and not connect it to a name. I love this. There is just a lot of options here, but I think the standout modes are Smashdown and Squad Strike. In the former, everyone must play a new character each fight, and this means every fight feels unique. No longer is there that one person who plays their main over and over again. As for Squad Strike, it finally feels like a proper team battle from other fighting games, and offers some unique strategy, kind of like Pokemon Stadium, but better. It is clear that Smash mode is where most of the focus went, because Games and More kind of suffers. It is under this tab that traditionally held the single player content, and that's still the case now, but it has been cut down substantially. Stadium mode and Master Orders are both entirely gone, with only 100-man Smash and Cruel Smash remaining. All-Star Smash has also been cut down to play like these modes, and while I understand why, the lack of any kind of reward for doing All-Star Smash really made me unmotivated to play through it. It's not all dire though. The Mii customization has been greatly enhanced thanks to the shop, allowing you to buy Mii gear instead of having them be random unlocks like in Smash for Wii U and 3DS. And these costumes actually feel worth using, with many being based on characters who missed the playable spot like Saki and Lip. This is how Mii's should be, and it's a clear upgrade. Training is also vastly improved, with a unique stage that shows you information like trajectory. You can also test each assistant Pokemon now, which is awesome. There are just a lot more options here, which is great for those who want to master the game. The crowning star of Games and More, however, is Classic Mode. Now this is certainly the best Classic Mode the series has ever seen. Okay, it only has one special mode thanks to the removal of Break the Targets, and too many of the routes end similarly, but everything else is fantastic. Each route is unique to the fighter, and even offers different conditions like Ryu's all-stamina focused matches. Some personal favourites of mine are Sonic and Shulk's route, where the former is a loving callback to his series titles, while the latter has a fight that represents each of Shulk's unique arts. The attention to detail is brilliant. This also includes new bosses that aren't Master Hand and Crazy Hand. These are fought in the World of Light as well, but I imagine most gamers experience these fights here. Some return like Giga Bowser and Gallium, while Ganon, Dracula, Marx and Rathalos make their great debut. The difficulty varies greatly, however. Marx is way too easy, while Ganon can be truly nasty. Rathalos is fun, but a bit too time consuming, while Dracula starts quite difficult, and then becomes easier in his second form, which I feel should really be the opposite. Regardless, I like that they were used here, and just wish more routes ended on them instead of Master Hand and Crazy Hand. Like seriously, Roy's mode is all about fighting sword users, yet he doesn't fight Ganon at the end? Why? Speaking of difficulty, I think the new way that difficulty is handled is also pretty ideal. Depending on your skill in a fight, the difficulty will rise appropriately, and if you fall in battle then it will drop if you continue, unless you use a special golden ticket. If you do come back, you also start the match from where you fell, as opposed to older games that started you from the beginning, and this is fantastic for streamlining the process. In fact, all of Classic Mode feels streamlined this time, which is a good thing when you have 71 different fights to get through, as Mii's don't have a Classic Mode for some reason. But that is it for the games and more, meaning outside of regular Smash battles there isn't much else. No platforming, no stage building, no board game, just pure smashing, sometimes with weird spirit conditions, and it can feel a bit exhausting when playing solo in long play sessions. Things are a little different when you play with people, as it becomes more of a social event, but if you lack any real life friends on hand, then you're just going to have to turn to the online mode. Online is both the best and worst it's ever been. Now I can't speak for everyone, but this has by far had the best online connection of any Smash. Not every battle had a smooth connection, but many of them did, and I don't necessarily have the best internet setup, so I was surprised by this. However, if you do suffer bad connections or you play in a match with someone who does, you may end up being punished when it doesn't really feel like you should be. It's a bit unfair to be dealt a punishment for something completely out of your control. Then there are earlier issues that spread online, with many players not getting their preferred matchups and being forced into free-for-alls. This seems to have been fixed, but almost too much, at least in my experience. I don't tend to play with any preferred rules, as variety is the spice of life. And while I had a nice variety pre-update, now I am almost always given 1v1 on Final Destination. I had to actively make a preferred rule for free-for-all just to change up the pace. It's good for those who like that side of things, but it just doesn't feel completely fixed yet. Then in the arena there are more issues. For what is essentially your personalised matchmaking lobby, the lack of quality of life features is weird. With every good addition there seems to be some kind of flaw attached. You can set your own rules, but to change them you have to shut down the whole lobby. You can play music, but only one track on loop instead of a playlist. If there are more than 4 of you, the players not in matches can either watch the match, but must do so before it starts, or wait in queue and be guaranteed into the next game, at the cost of just waiting at a boring menu for the other match to finish. And if you want to change character at any point, you are forced to leave either the queue or spectator stand and get pushed to the back of the line, which in busy lobbies actively goes against the idea of testing fighters. Add on that having more than 4 people in a lobby can cause lag, even if they aren't all playing in the actual fight, and that you cannot do arena with couch co-op like you can on quick play, and then the arena just feels half-baked, like it tried to be good, and then stumbled and failed midway. And online just lacks other options now as well. There's no way to set up online tournaments, which is pretty lame, and even if they were underutilized in Smash for Wii U and 3DS, the Conquest mode was still an interesting idea. Now there is nothing, and that kind of fits for this title. For a game so full of content and variety, it also just lacks that. There are a lot of characters, stages, songs, options for rules, and so on, but almost every mode boils down to just fighting CPU or friends. This isn't unusual for fighting games, but Smash has always had something more, and it just feels lacking here. Personally, for Smash multiplayer, this is the best the series has ever been. But single player, outside of the improved classic mode, I think lacks a lot of what Melee, Brawl, and even what Smash 3DS had to spice things up. At least visually, this game is a treat. While the colours can feel washed out at times, the details on every stage and character is astounding. Replays can be played back frame by frame, and the camera options here are something to marvel at. The changes to characters visually are also a nice touch. There are more variety in the old costumes, and little touches like Mario's cape being actually around his neck and how this affects Dr. Mario, who now uses a towel, are just the kind of attention to detail that I love about this series. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate really is the ultimate game in the series, but there is a reason it's not called Super Smash Bros. Perfect. So much focus was put on making the gameplay astounding and bringing many beloved characters and stages back that a lot of the modes that added some variety ended up being left behind. And that is a shame. However, as I said at the beginning of this review, if the game had all the characters and modes I wanted but played like rubbish, I wouldn't find it as enjoyable. Thankfully, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has the best gameplay the series has ever seen, and the amount of customization and options that went into the core gameplay allows for unique experiences when playing with friends or even the CPU. This is a must-have Switch title, and one of the best Super Smash Bros. Games ever made. It truly is a love letter to the series' roots, even if it had to cut off some of the extra branches developed over the years. But who knows, with DLC and balance patches on the way, maybe we will see the return of some of these missing features at a later date. And if so, this game will truly have exceeded the hype that it certainly has met. Before I go today, I want to thank once again Nintendo UK for sending us a review copy. I hope the game has done them really well. I mean, I've seen the news, it certainly looks like it has. As for everyone else listening, if you haven't somehow got this game, let me know if you plan on getting it right now. I'm sure many of you picked this up day one, even without checking any review or anything like that, but you know, just let me know if I've influenced your opinion in any way. And let me know what you like about Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, if you've already picked it up and played it. As for everything else, all that usual YouTube jazz of hitting the likes and subscribe buttons, etc, etc, I want to give a special shout out to all of our patrons, in particular our super patron, the Duke of Dorks. The link to his channel is in the description below. And Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody. So, 2018 has been a hype year for Smash Bros. And with DLC coming in 2019, it's looking to be really great, especially with it also being Smash's 20th anniversary. So I'm sure Nintendo has something planned. But, alright, with that guys, have a wonderful holiday, and I will hope you all return to the source in the new year.